I will probably get started. This has already started recording for us. If you're just ending your school day, we'll try to make sure that this is just around a half an hour for you. And we are going to share some downloadable activities you can use with your students right away. We're going to talk about some fun stuff. So I'm excited to be with you today. Thank you for joining us for our webinar Career Exploration and Project-Based Learning in Middle and High School. My name is Abby Hess, and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager at GW Publisher. During this session, there will be activities, like I mentioned, that you can download and use. You can scan those with a QR code if you've got a smartphone, but we'll also put the links in the chat for you. And following this webinar, you'll receive a recording with those links as well. And if you're watching this later, you can see those links within the email where you'll get the recording. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. You're currently in listen-only mode if you're with us live today, but we do want to hear from you. So you'll see a chat functionality on the right-hand side of your screen. Feel free to use that to add any comments, questions, ideas of things you do for career exploration or in your CTE courses. Please share those notes with us. And you'll see that my colleague Katrina is in the chat as well, and she'll be watching that to keep an eye out if there's any questions. And then I'm happy to slow down and answer those, but we'll also have opportunity for additional questions at the end of this if you'd like to stay on and ask some questions. So keep in mind, if there are best practices you love to use, you want to share with us, let us know. That would be awesome. Okay, I'm going to jump forward a few slides. So, today we're talking about project-based learning for career exploration and things that you can do in both middle and high school. But I just wanted to start talking a little bit about today's student and the students that we have. And when they're in school, whether they're a middle school student who might just be starting in 5th or 6th, 7th, 8th grade, even to our high school students or college students, no matter where they are as a student, a professional career might seem like it's really far away from them. There's a whole bunch in this blank space between being a student and a professional. And our students today, when they think of themselves and their mindset of a student, hopefully they're ready to learn new stuff, right? And their job is to be able to soak it in and learn new ideas and concepts. They're probably thinking, I'll be taking tests to be able to prove that I've learned this new stuff. And I'm at this exploring phase where I'm just still figuring out what it is I want to do with my life. Versus a professional, students might think, they know stuff. They're experts in industry. They've been maybe doing this for a long time to be a professional. They might think, the professional is the one doing all the work, which they certainly are. And maybe a student thinks they aren't taking tests, but we know as professionals, we often have to continue our learning, whether that's continuing education credits or certifications that we want to earn. And maybe the most motivating for students with the professional is that they get paid for that work that they're doing, right? And so I want us to think, as we look today at the career exploration course area, how can we help students change their mindset from I'm a student who's just learning new stuff and taking tests to considering themselves a future professional who is gaining and using that knowledge as they're gaining it, practicing industry skills that are being done by professionals within the classroom. And even if they aren't getting paid today, maybe they don't have a part-time job yet, or maybe they're not part of a work-based learning program or an entrepreneurial program where they are making some kind of revenue, they at least know that they are on the path to getting paid for what they hopefully love to do, on the road to a career that's going to support them and their families as they think about their future lives. So we'll think about that mindset of the student. Now, I want to talk about some course options for career exploration. Depending on where you're from, you might be teaching career exploration in a standalone course in middle school. You might be doing it in high school. You might be connecting with introductory college students who are thinking about their careers. Or maybe you don't even have an entire course, but you have some kind of program and you're interested in getting students into your wonderful CTE pathways within your district or your school. And you have maybe just an introductory couple week program that's letting students know about those offerings. No matter how you do it, we are going to talk about 2 resources today that really give you everything that you need to be able to implement up to an entire year-long course for career exploration in middle school or high school. And the first one is Discovering Careers. This is a brand new edition. It's not even fully published yet. We still have a few weeks until it's fully out, although we do have digital samples available for you today. And this is the 11th edition of Discovering Careers, which is the most up-to-date program to help middle school students begin career exploration and practice the skills they need to succeed in high school and beyond. This new edition, like I said, it's about to fully publish, has been updated to reflect changes in the workplace, including topics such as workplace environments and expectations, technology advancements, transferable skills that would help students in a variety of careers and situations, and the various methods of professional communication. In addition to learning those career and employability skills and exploring careers, students will also learn valuable money management skills to help them grow towards independence in this course. So I wanted to call out, if you don't have a middle school course today within your district, that the most recent version of Perkins 5, does allow funds to be used as early as 5th grade, with many states choosing which grade levels will be supported. And according to ACTE, as of last year, about 90% or 45 states in the US expend funding for middle grade CTE and career exploration. So depending on the state that you're in, you might have a full middle school course. You might just be looking for opportunities for middle school students to get excited about CTE. We also see sometimes maybe there's a middle school ag program, but maybe not a program for some of the other career clusters quite yet. But this product really allows you to do that, and you can use Perkins funds in most states to be able to purchase resources and start a middle school program. So within this book, it's organized in a sequence that logically guides students through their career journey from exploration to career readiness. So they cover the job search, succeeding in the workplace, and growing towards independence. The new sequence, it changed a little bit from the last edition. If you've seen it before, it now emphasizes the exploration of personal traits, interests, and strengths, all of which are important factors for career success. And those are now in the very first chapter. So as we talk about both of these resources, authors for these books have long-time history working in education with students, and many of them are also professional career counselors or career guidance counselors for students. And it's really important as we get students exploring and thinking about all the career pathways that might be available to them, that they first have to understand themselves a little bit better and understand how their own aptitudes, the things that they enjoy to do, and their values and their personal traits may attribute to career goals that then can relate to specific career pathways. So the middle school students within this course are encouraged to make a plan for what they want to study in high school, encouraging participation in CTE to help them achieve their goals. There is some research out there that having students get into CTE at earlier ages is actually an even better time for their brain development to start exploring careers, with the added benefit that they might feel a little less stressed to pick something right away. They have a little bit more time before they have to make those decisions with their school counselor on what electives they'll take or if they want to join a CTE program. And so it gives them that space to make really informed decisions about where they might want to look within their district. The other resource we'll highlight and pull some activities from today is School to Career. And this book is really created for the journey for high school students and guides them through important 21st century life and career skills they'll need as they explore careers, assess their abilities, and engage in opportunities with career and technical student organizations, work-based learning, and planning for the future. So this book has published today. We'll get in there live and we'll show you some of the resources. If you would like a sample of either of these books, we'll say it a couple times throughout, but you can just put that in the chat and we'll make sure that you get samples sent to you after the webinar. And if you're watching this as a recording, you can always connect with your educational consultant or respond to the email where you got the recording and ask for a sample as well. So within the School to Career textbook, by studying this text, students will learn their personal skills, decision-making skills, and employability skills in preparation for the challenges they'll face after graduation. This college and career readiness text includes a new design that brings fresh and current examples to engage the modern student. Now in the 13th edition, it reflects some modern career practices and includes instruction on curriculum vitae, a CV, a cover letter, updated technology in the workplace, remote work structures, data privacy, artificial intelligence, all of those important things that are affecting many careers, as well as modern banking practices, 403B retirement plans, credit history, and credit limits, as well as healthy habits like developing a growth mindset. So I want to talk a little bit about why we've updated these books right now and why it's really important to make sure that your career exploration curriculum is up to date. Maybe you know all about this, but the national career clusters from Advanced CTE have been updated. And we were used to our 16 career clusters. There are now 14. Both of the books that we're talking about have references and are fully aligned to the new career cluster framework. I'm going to play this video. You can access more information about the career cluster framework at careertech.org, or you can scan that QR code if you like. But I just have a quick video of what you'll find on the website. So career ready practices at the center of this new wheel icon that Advanced CTE launched last April. Those career ready practices are general professional skills developed by industry and education that represent skills that will help professionals exceed in any workplace. So we'll talk about those a little bit more, but they're really skill areas that students should practice and consider because it's going to help them in any career that they might ultimately be interested in. Then you get to the cluster groupings that they have here in the second level of the circle. And these are purpose-driven sectors that help guide students toward clusters aligned with their interests, values, and the impact they might want to make on their communities. When we get to the next level of this circle, this is where we now have the new 14 career clusters. So I'm sure you were used to in the past, we've had 16 career clusters for quite a long time. These clusters are sectors that classify related careers, while subclusters offer major groupings of career areas within each field of similar skills. So you've got the 14 clusters and now all of these subclusters that are in the outer ring of the circle as well. That have similar skills within those clusters. So how did we get from 16 to 14? Again, if you go to careertech.org, they have a nice breakdown of the changes, and it was really impacted by what they were hearing from industry. But some of the changes that you'll see is that the new framework has added modern industry focuses like automation and robotics, clean and alternative energy, and artificial intelligence, as well as unmanned vehicles. While STEM, which was its own career cluster for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics related careers, is now dispersed across multiple career clusters where it makes sense. Previously, the energy cluster and the natural resources cluster were their own, and they are now merged into one. And likewise, law, public safety, corrections, and security has merged with government and public administration. And another one that might impact a lot of CTE programs in this blue area here is that health sciences and human services have merged into one cluster as well. In addition to those clusters, you'll see in this purple section in the top right hand of the wheel, some of the clusters are called out as cross-cutting clusters. And these are management and entrepreneurship, digital technology, and marketing and sales. These business and technology related clusters highlight those that have implications for courses taken in other clusters. So if you're a student who is really interested in agriculture, there's still some of those courses that might be related to digital technology or entrepreneurship can be very, very valuable to that ag student. And likewise for, manufacturing, healthcare, welding, transportation, engineering, all of those other great career areas can really benefit from some of the skills within these traditional business and IT course areas. So I wanted to highlight, in addition to these two books, because they are brand new, are really the first books on the market that are using that new career cluster framework. And within these, a new career snapshot feature is available in both the middle school and high school book. So we've always had a way within all of our CTE textbooks, even as you get up into higher levels of coursework within a career pathway, highlight high pay, high wage, high opportunity careers for students. So they get an idea of what it might be like to be in a certain job. But with these new additions, we have a new feature called Career Snapshot, which highlights career opportunities across various industries and uses that wheel icon to show students what cluster out of the new clusters that career is related to. Both of these features, as students learn about careers, will highlight work responsibilities for that job, the work environment, the required education and skills, as well as expected growth and pay of that career. But you'll notice within the middle school course, we're also really trying to highlight for those younger students what are the next steps they can take once they're in high school to help guide them in that career. And so there's also a section on, recommended high school prep courses, as well as activities, clubs, events you might want to participate in while you're in high school to help you with that job. In addition to that, within the content itself, both of these titles include a breakdown of these new career clusters. And you'll find this within the middle school book. This comes up as students are learning about a career plan and how to develop their own career plan. While as in the high school book, this is really early on, right in the first lesson of the book, found within the chapter on the importance of work. Students are learning about those career clusters and the subclusters within them. So I want to talk a little bit as we're getting geared up for students doing project-based learning. What are the exciting activities that they can do that are going to be aligned to those career-ready skills that come out of the National Career Framework, with scaffolded exercises that will prepare them for longer-term projects? So we mentioned the middle of that circle from Advanced CTE and the new cluster framework host these career-ready practices, and there's 12 of them. And you can see across here, they range from things like remaining resilient in a changing workplace, to managing time effectively, demonstrating a creative mindset, collaborating productively. All of these skills that you see on the screen and in those career-ready practices are applicable and useful to a student no matter what career pathway they choose. And so again, you can go to careertech.org if you want to learn more and see this graphic about those career-ready practices. But we want to take a little bit of time to highlight what are some activities you can do with your students to prepare them for those project-based learning experiences while aligning to these career-ready practices. So one example, as we're preparing students for a longer project, I wanted to break it down into the two different things that you can do before they work on those projects, which the first is to motivate students, right? If we just tell them to do something, here's a big project, you're going to work on a resume and a portfolio, and you're going to do all this stuff, and we don't really motivate them in thinking why they can do that now, how it's connecting to their current life, why it's going to be useful to them, they're not going to get as much out of those larger experiences. So some of the ways that we can motivate students, the first way that I really love that the content allows us to do is to give students peer-to-peer examples in story-based scenarios of students their age that are representing some of these topics that you want to talk about. So this is an example of discovering careers. Students are motivated at the beginning of every single unit with this new opener where there's a student story that includes real-world applications of the concepts they're about to learn. It helps students envision their path to discover their career. In this particular story, I think this is the one in the very first chapter of that book, we meet Alex, a middle school student who really enjoys building gadgets. She likes fiddling with things, putting things together, taking them apart, putting them together again. And she's just for the very first time in her career exploration course learning about jobs in the skilled trades. And she's considering one that she's heard about in class, like being an electrician. So she takes it upon herself to, instead of just playing with maybe some gadgets, some Legos, some sets that she's had at home, to work with an adult to actually fix a lamp, to wire a new circuit. And she's excited to learn that these kinds of things that she's already doing might relate to a potential career. Another way that this is done within School to Career for those high school students, like the Roadmap to Success features, in the high school book, there's a feature called Picture Success that's giving students, again, a peer-to-peer scenario. These, again, are at the beginning of each unit. In this particular example, we meet Eliana, who's been working at a local movie theater. And so she's just, and it's her first part-time job. She really enjoys a lot of the tasks that she's been doing there. And she's really surprised to find that she's been offered a promotion to an assistant manager by her boss. So while she's really honored that she got this promotion from her boss, she's instantly concerned that she might not be ready to be a manager. She, in school, usually is kind of quiet, shy, reserved, doesn't really like to raise her hand that much. And she's always thought that to be a leader, you have to be a loud, boisterous extrovert, right? So she actually goes and she talks to some of her teachers. She talks to some of her family members that she trusts about whether she should accept this promotion or not. And she's really surprised to find that her family and friends actually have a different perception of what leadership is. Rather than being an extrovert and wanting to talk all the time, they tell her that some of the traits she has, like being a really good listener, making fair decisions, and being able to solve problems on the spot, are going to make her a really great leader. So through this story, she then realizes that she can accept that promotion and understands that she has some skills that are going to help her within the job that she's in today and in the future. So having these stories here provide great examples for how high school students themselves can reflect on their own experiences that are happening today to help them take the next steps in their professional journey. Within the content of both of these books in the online instructor resources, there are fully fleshed out lesson plans for the teachers. And if we look at the lesson plan for School to Career with the story of Ileana, it mentions that this feature can be used to engage students at the very start of a lesson and to initiate class discussion about leadership. So you could share this story and then start a class discussion around challenging students to challenge their current perceptions around leadership and what management responsibilities are in the workplace. Do they have other skills? Are there other aspects of their personalities or things that they've shown that would mean that they could potentially be a good leader, right? So students could be encouraged to consider how this story relates to the themes of the unit they're about to work through and can motivate them to start connecting concepts to their own experiences, just like Ileana did in this one. So we've got our first downloadable activity for you. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And again, we'll put this in the email if you're watching this or you're going to watch this later as well. You can also scan the QR code with a phone if you've got access to it, that you can download this right away. This comes from the workbook for Discovering Careers. Both Discovering Careers and School to Career have full workbooks that are available in print for students to complete in class, but they're also available online. And the great thing about these online versions is that they're fully accessible and they are editable by the teacher. So if you want to be able to make some changes or add something to the activities your students are doing, you have the ability to do that when you adopt a digital subscription for your students. But this is a great motivational activity that happens pretty early within the book. So students within lesson 4.2 of this book are learning about the decision-making process and good ways to make decisions. And one of the activities they are then doing within the workbook is this dream job decoder. And it asks them to, first of all, visualize your dream job. Can you describe it? What is it that you like about it? What would it be? And then think about some actionable steps you can take towards it today, even as a 6th grader or an 8th grader. And so this is something that is really good, I think, when you're having students explore careers. They're maybe taking some personal assessments. They're on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website and they see some things they're interested in. Have them end their day by thinking about some actionable steps they could take, maybe in the short term, even the long-term classes they might want to take to be able to help them get that dream job. And this directly ties to a career-ready practice of navigating an educational career path aligned to strengths, work style, interests, and goals. So in addition to motivating students then, as we're preparing them for a larger project, we want them to start, again, learning and using skills right away with industry-based practices. And there are lots of opportunities within these courses to get students hands-on that go beyond just researching data on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. I mean, it's a great thing to do, but we just don't want to do that every day, right? We want to get students discussing, practicing employability skills, practicing the concepts that they're going to be tested on to be ready for the next stage of life. So in this particular example, this comes from school to career. At the lesson and chapter levels, students, there are activities to engage students and provide opportunities for them to practice what they've learned. These career cases that you find in the high school book provide additional real-world scenarios tied to critical thinking questions you can have your students consider independently or in small groups. So in this scenario, we now meet a new high school student, and Stephanie, and she's meeting with her school counselor for the first time on what her course schedule should be for the next year of school. And she already knows, she's known from a long time since she was a little kid that she wants to be an architect because she's loved drawing floor plans and drawing designs of houses. Her father's even created a 3D model of one for her. She knows that this is her dream of what she would like to do. But she's surprised when her school counselor then says, well, great, if that's what you want to do, then we'll make sure that we're taking some pre-college courses that are really heavy in the math and sciences because you'll need that for that career. And she steps back and says, no, I thought that, this was something that I would be able to do pretty soon after graduating. I feel like I already have the skills. And I also didn't think that I'd need all of this, science and math to do this job. So this then can start a conversation with your entire class in small groups or individuals. The lesson plans have multiple research-based instructional strategies of different ways that you can host these discussions with your students. But did Stephanie really have a realistic picture of what an architect does? Why would an architect need math and science knowledge? Are there occupations in the construction cluster that might not require as much of that might work better for her? Do you think that maybe Stephanie would like to learn math and science by examining how an architect uses those skills? So it gives, again, a peer-to-peer example where they can dive a little deeper into that now that they've learned some information from the lesson to help out Stephanie and see where she could go next. Here's an example now from Discovering Careers, and we'll make sure that you have access to these PowerPoint slides if these are activities that you want to take a look at. But again, if you want a sample of the entire content to see what's in here, we certainly are happy to send it to you. Just like School to Career has practice at the lesson level, so does Discovering Careers. And the nice thing about these activities at the end of every lesson is that they are directly aligned to the learning outcomes that students are meant to learn for that lesson. So every time students are practicing something, it's aligned to the main learning outcomes of what you want them to learn for that course. And then many of these questions are also available to be auto-graded online. And can give you a report of how well students are mastering those individual learning outcomes. And we'll show you that live in a few minutes. But you can see as students are learning more vocabulary, we have some lower level Bloom's questions where we're checking for understanding. And then we're going a little bit higher where students get to practice some of those skills. So again, let's reflect on situations that have maybe happened in school, at a part-time job, within my relationships that are mimicking what might happen within a career. So describe a time when you experienced a breakdown in communication. Identify the steps within that communication process that failed, and how could you have avoided that breakdown? We're moving here from analysis, where students are understanding the components of the communication process and making connections between them, all the way to making, critical recommendations about what they could do in the future and how that connects with their career. So some really good stuff there at the lesson level. And then once you get to the end of the chapter, in both sets of these books, there's even more practice where students are applying and then expanding their learning. So this is an example from chapter 1 within School to Career for those high school students. One of the things that students learn about within just the world of work is the opportunity for gig work opportunities. And this is something that's been expanding with, opportunities with app-driven businesses like Uber and Lyft and delivery services, to, being a self-made entrepreneur and working part-time or as a consultant, to be your own owner. There's multiple ways that students can do this. And so within the applications, again, aligned to those learning outcomes within the book, one of the questions that they do is related to the gig economy and understanding those gig job opportunities. But you can see that some of them here are having them analyze a career cluster that's interesting to you, investigating volunteer opportunities. Here's the gig economy one. Based on what you learned, what can you conclude about jobs in the gig economy? Will they experience growth? Which ones might be in more or less demand? Think about the skills you possess and create a 3-column chart where you're identifying your strongest information, personal and interpersonal skills, and the skills that you want to learn, listing transferable skills. So all of these things are in-class activities that can really get students working together and applying that content, helping them build their own personal career plan and their own vision for what they might want to do in CTE and their future career. And then after application, we're expanding our learning. So this is even a higher level blooms. We're bringing in cross-curriculars. You can see within these expand your learning opportunities in both books, at the end of the chapter, we're using a lot of those career-ready practices and simulating actual interactions that we might have on the job or skills that we might use in a wide variety of careers. So whether it's from communication and interviewing people who have different occupations, so there's that Bureau of Labor Statistics website and analyzing some of the data that's in there, to learning more about college and university options, working with a small group to collaborate and think critically about those career snapshots, those careers that are highlighted throughout the chapter, to working in a small group to create adjustments that students might have to make as they transition from being full-time students to full-time employees. Right here is a prime example of taking that student mindset and starting to help them think like a future professional. So here's your second downloadable activity. This now comes from the workbook for School to Career. And I'll put the link in the chat for you again. You also can scan this. This is helping students with a career ready practice that all of us need all the time, managing time and space effectively. And so again, you can use this with your students. This helps them to practice time management by keeping track of how they spend time today. So it really encourages them for however long you want them to do this, an entire week. When am I in class? When am I at sports, doing clubs, at my part-time job? When am I just at home hanging with my friends versus watching TV? When am I studying? Am I finding, and so they actually take a week to be able to create this log of where all of their time is, and then they take the next step to analyze it. What's been wasting my time? If I'm prioritizing the things that I do throughout the week, is there something that I need to do more of? Am I not having enough time to study because I'm ultimately in here and I'm on, Zoom calls with my friends, playing video games or something like that? Or am I spending a lot of time at my soccer practice, but that's really important for me because of all the things that I gain from that experience and how it helps me, thrive with the other things that I'm doing. And it helps them think critically about, are there changes you could make today? And this is all within the context of work-based learning. So if they're imagining, hey, can I add something into my schedule and go into a work-based learning experience where maybe it's part of my school day or maybe it's after school, I'm actually participating or observing in a career. That's the whole point of this, to understand their time today, how they're using it, and what could they maybe use as a trade-off to add more time to focus on a future career by engaging in a work-based learning experience. So a great thing that you can have your students do, whether they're in middle school or high school, to really understand how they're managing their time. And the project-based learning opportunities. So obviously we want to talk about this. All of these kinds of activities, getting this mindset, motivating students, these practice activities in the classroom really prep them to do something big where they're creating a career plan for themselves that they can use from middle school to high school and high school into college or career. And so within both of these books, at the end of every chapter in Discovering Career, there are new classroom to careers activities. And these help students ultimately build a portfolio that for them is going to help create a plan for what they can do from today as a middle school student to the courses that they'll take, the clubs that they want to join, the outside activities that will prep them through the next level of education into a career. And so you can see this is an example of the very first one. They're doing some self-discovery where they're really thinking about their strengths, the activities they enjoy, what they find rewarding, what their values are. And then this directs them to take that journaling experience and put it into a professional portfolio that will build with them over the length of their middle school career exploration course. And you can see this is just the first one, but they ultimately think about education and training, their future career decisions, practice interviewing, doing job searches, making workplaces safe, managing their money. All of these things result in a larger project that they get to focus on that's deeply related to their personal values and their plan for success in the future. So similarly, in the School to Career High School book, students ultimately build a personal development plan, and they are encouraged to do this and have files to be able to do this at the end of every single unit. And so they start with a personal mission statement. If you're teaching an entrepreneurship course or a small business course, and students are ultimately going to create a business plan throughout that course, they want to create a mission statement for their business. And just in the same way, you need that guiding principle and understanding of yourself and what you want to be able to make a personal career development plan. So that's where we start here after the first unit, as students have explored some career opportunities, their own values, their aptitudes, their strengths, and where they might want to go. And they'll save that and then continue to add to it throughout the length of the course. And the cool thing about this is that it's helping them think about what they want to do in the future of their education and their career, but also what's going to benefit them across their lifespan. So they end with a wellness plan, because if you are not living well and you're not healthy and happy, you're not going to do well in your job either. So that's something that's also very important and closely integrated within that personal development plan that students are building throughout the course. So that was about 35 minutes. I'm going to hop in live so we can see a little bit. I wanted to note, if you haven't used GW resources before, all of them are available, both print and digital. And we do have full online instructor resources for teachers, from lesson plans to PowerPoints. I'll show them live for you right now. So I'm going to pop out of my PowerPoint. I believe you're seeing my screen. If you want a digital sample to either of these books, we'll send it to you and you'll access it from this website, gwonlinetextbooks.com. I'm going to log in. I'm going to quickly go to our School to Career course. Now, because I work at GW, I have like a million textbooks. You would see the ones that you have access to within the sample that you request. But you can see here, if your school uses a learning management system like Canvas or Schoology, this can be fully integrated into your learning management system. But if you don't have something like that, teachers and students can easily access our resources from our website. And so from here, you have full access to the online textbook. So if we go in and we take a look at chapter 1, this is a fully accessible textbook with a vertical scroll. All of the images, those samples of the career clusters, are in here for students. I can zoom in if I want to. I can quickly search and find specific content, or use this icon here to navigate through the chapters of the book. If you're taking a look at this later on and you want to pull some activities to use for the classroom or consider using this for your class, feel free to go to the feature contents that you'll see at the beginning of this. And those activities that we talked about, like the personal development plan, picture success, the career snapshots, the career cases, all of them, you can link to them very quickly and see additional features that also help students with career ready practices, from ethical leadership to 21st century career skills. and also activities to help build their portfolio or participate in leadership opportunities with career and technical student organizations. So you can get to things very quickly from there and see examples of them within the text. I'm going to go back now, and I want to show you beyond the textbook. Students also have access to the digital companion. So there are study tools in here built for students. So for every key term, there are flashcards that students can use to study and practice for their exams. There are matching activities where they can practice this understanding. And you could have students do this live. If you have a smart board, you could have them come up to your computer and try to do a speed run at it. You can check your answers and have students keep coming up doing one by one and trying to get points for the entire class. They also have a vocabulary game, which is basically a Jeopardy style game. Again, something that's pretty fun to have students come up and take a chance at this at the smartboard as if you do it as a class, or they can do it independently. And then all of those activities, building your vocabulary, checking your understanding at the beginning of every lesson, also exist as docx files. So if you want to give them those handouts, if you want to adjust them, edit them, you have the ability to do that. The workbook, we had a downloadable example. That's all available online as well and can be edited as needed. But we've also created brand new animations, and this is for both of these books that help students understand some of these key concepts. So if you have some visual learners who really want to watch a video to help understand some of these things, or to even introduce this within your PowerPoint as you're talking to students or have them refer to it later, these fun modern animations help students understand those skills. And then last but not least, the instructor resources. So when you get in here, take a look at everything that's available to you. There are correlations to industry recognized credentials that students can earn from these courses. There are quizzes for those animations to assign those in class. And then for every single chapter, you have full PowerPoint presentations, lesson plans, the answer keys throughout the book. And these do open in docx files. If you have a Google Classroom, you can open these online in Google Docs and edit them as well. But it's just opening on my other screen. I just want to give you an example of the lesson plan. We talked about some of those features. They're highlighted throughout the lesson plans of how you might want to use them and integrate them in class. Everything's aligned to the learning outcomes for that lesson. And you've got teaching tips here. So we talked about instructional, research-based instructional strategies like Chalk Talk to give students a chance to share their thoughts, to think, pair, share, sentence stems, 3-2-1 reflections. These are here as recommendations of how you might want to mix it up and help students learn those concepts. There are questions you can ask in discussions to engage students, to help them explore, to explain, to extend, and then evaluate and assess your students. So everything is pre-built here for you, and nice thing is it's editable. So if you need to make changes, you certainly can. I'm going to go back out again. And the last thing that I wanted to show you there, I feel like there was one more thing. School to career. Again, I have a million books on my dashboard, is GW assessment. So I mentioned that all of those exercises are aligned to the learning outcomes within the book. And if you have a learning management system, like Schoology or Canvas, or if your school uses Google Classroom, then you do have the ability, you can talk to your educational consultant. You have the ability to assign these digitally for students to get auto grading and enhanced reporting. But if you are using Canvas, Schoology, or Google Classroom, you have now access to so many different kinds of assessments you can send. There are pre and post tests for every chapter in your chapter exam. You can see here, there's some true and false questions, multiple choice questions, fill in the blank. I can customize any of these if I want to, or remove them if I don't like them. I can change them. I can add my own questions. But you also have this check your understanding from the lesson level. You have practice your understanding, application activities. So a lot of those questions that are in the book are also able to be assigned if you're integrating this in a learning management system or using it with Google Classroom. So there's lots of functionality here. We'd love to be able to show you if it's something that you want to use in your class. I'll pop out of that now and go back to our PowerPoint for a second, because I'm excited that besides just hearing me talk, Let me just go to the current slide. Here we go. Besides hearing me talk, you can actually hear from our author of the new edition of Discovering Careers, Dr. Candy Ho, just within 2 weeks. So on Tuesday, February 10th at 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, you can join Dr. Candy Ho for an in-depth look at how Discovering Careers equips educators to prepare students for success in today's dynamic workforce. She's going to talk about the tools and features that are in there to help students build their portfolios, plan career pathways, develop essential 21st century skills, and you can have the opportunity to collaborate with fellow teachers and educators on best practices. So if you were interested in this content at all, if you teach middle school, if you teach CTE or career exploration, feel free to scan this QR code. I believe the invite to this webinar was also in the same invite to the one that you're at today. But you certainly can connect with your GW educational consultant if you want to find that as well. And please attend or at least watch the recording of Dr. Candy Ho's presentation. It's going to be really awesome to hear directly from her. So we're at 45 minutes. I think I told you we're half an hour, talk about time management. But thank you so much for staying on and learning more about our products. Again, if you want a sample of any of the textbooks that we talked about today, in addition to these two, we do have other related content. If you teach family and consumer sciences or a relationships course, we have a brand new edition of interpersonal relationships, which talks about, relationships in the workplace, within the family, community, at school and home. If you teach students who just need that piece from high school to the career or from college to career, and they're thinking about interviews, the job search, a resume, all of those things, and you want it in a combined kind of work text, Connect to Career is your option there. If you teach other CTE courses and you just want to be able to incorporate employability skills and soft skill exercises and scenarios in any pathway that you teach, Soft Skills is an amazing book to do that. And then, of course, if you're a family and consumer science teacher and you teach kind of what we were talking about, but also about clothing, housing, maybe a little bit more on financial literacy and even nutrition, and you put that all into one course, we have well-loved options for middle school and high school there as well. So thank you so much for spending your time or watching the recording. It was awesome to be on here with you. I don't know if we have any questions in the chat. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask them now. Let us know in the chat if you would like a sample of anything to be sent to you. And we're so happy to have you here